Hi Pine Class, it's story time again, and yesterday we'd got about halfway through chapter 4, so we're going to try and finish chapter 4 today, and we were just about to find out what Danny's father's deepest, darkest secret was. So, let's see. "You asked me where I'd been," he said. "The truth was, I was up in Hazel's Wood." "Hazel's Wood?" I cried. "That's miles away." 6 miles and a half, my father said. "I know I shouldn't have gone, and I'm very sorry about it, but I had such a powerful yearning." His voice trailed away into nothingness. "But why would you want to go all the way up to Hazel's Wood?" I asked. He spooned cocoa powder and sugar into 2 mugs, doing it very slowly, and levelling each spoonful as though he were measuring medicine. "Do you know what is meant by poaching?" he asked. "Poaching? Not really, no." "It means going up into the woods in the dead of night and coming back with something for the pot. Poachers in other places poach all sorts of different things, but around here it's always pheasants." "You mean stealing them?" I said, aghast. "We don't look at it that way," my father said. "Poaching is an art. A great poacher is a great artist." "Is that actually what you were doing in Hazel's Wood, Dad? Poaching pheasants?" "I was practicing the art," he said. "The art of poaching." I was shocked. My own father, a thief. This gentle, lovely man. I couldn't believe he'd go creeping into the woods at night to pinch valuable birds belonging to somebody else. "The kettle's boiling," I said. "Ah, so it is." He poured the water into the mugs and brought mine over to his. Then he fetched his own and sat with it at the end of my bunk. "Your granddad," he said, "my own dad, was a magnificent and splendiferous poacher. It was he who taught me all about it. I caught the poaching fever from him when I was 10 years old, and I've never lost it since. Mind you, in those days just about every man in our village was out in the woods at night poaching pheasants. And they did it not only because they loved the sport, but because they needed food for their families. When I was a boy, times were bad for a lot of people in England. There was very little work to be had anywhere, and some families were literally starving. Yet a few miles away in the rich man's wood, thousands of pheasants were being fed like kings twice a day. So can you blame my dad for going out occasionally and coming home with a bird or two for the family to eat?" "No," I said. "Of course not, but we're not starving here, Dad." "You've missed the point, Danny boy. You've missed the whole point. Poaching is such a fabulous and exciting sport that once you start doing it, it gets into your blood and you just can't give it up. Just imagine," he said, leaping off the bunk and waving his mug in the air. "Just imagine for a minute that you are all alone up there in the dark wood, and the wood is full of keepers hiding behind the trees, and the keepers have guns." "Guns?" I gasped. "They don't have guns." "All keepers have guns, Danny. It's for the vermin, mostly, the foxes and stoats and weasels who go after the pheasants, but they'll always take a pot at a poacher too, if they spot him." "Not at all. You must be joking, Dad." "I'm not. They only do it from behind, only when you're trying to escape. They like to pepper you in the legs at about 50 yards. "They can't do that," I cried. "They could go to prison for shooting someone." "You could go to prison for poaching," my father said. There was a glint and a sparkle in his eyes now that I'd never seen before. "Many's the night when I was a boy, Danny. I've gone into the kitchen and seen my old dad lying face down on the table and Mum standing over him, digging the gunshot pellets out of his backside with a potato knife." "It's not true," I said, starting to laugh. "You don't believe me?" "Yes, I believe you." Towards the end, he was so covered in tiny little white scars, he looked exactly like it was snowing. "I don't know why I'm laughing," I said. "It's not funny, it's horrible." "Poacher's bottom, they used to call it," my father said, "and there wasn't a man in the whole village who didn't have a bit of it one way or another. But my dad, he was the champion. How's the cocoa?" Fine, thank you. If you're hungry, we could have a midnight feast, he said. Could we, Dad? Of course. My father got out the bread tin and the butter and cheese and started making sandwiches. Let me tell you about this phony pheasant shooting business, he said. First of all, it is practiced only by the rich. Only the rich can afford to rear pheasants just for the fun of shooting them down when they grow up. These wealthy idiots spend huge sums of money every year buying baby pheasants from pheasant farms and rearing them in pens until they're big enough to be put out in the woods. In the woods, the young birds hang around like flocks of chickens. They are guarded by keepers and fed twice a day on the best corn until they're so fat they can hardly fly. Then beaters are hired who walk through the woods clapping their hands and making as much noise as they can to drive the half-tamed pheasants towards the half-baked men and their guns. After that, it's bang, 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 and down they come. Would you like strawberry jam on one of these? Yes, please, I said. 1 jam and 1 cheese. But Dad, what? How do you actually catch the pheasants when you're poaching? Do you have a gun hidden away up there? A gun? He cried, disgusted. Real poachers don't shoot pheasants, Danny. Didn't you know that? You've only got to fire a cat pistol up in these woods and the keepers will be on to you. Then how do you do it? I said. Ah, my father said, and the eyelids drooped over the eyes, veiled and secretive. He spread strawberry jam thickly on a piece of bread, taking his time. These things are big secrets, he said. Very big secrets indeed. But I reckon if my father could tell them to me, then maybe I can tell them to you. Would you like me to do that? Yes, I said. Tell me now. I'm afraid that's the end of chapter 4. Tomorrow we'll read chapter 5, which is called The Secret Methods. Have a lovely evening, everybody.